Is owning a fish room really worth it? What's going on, everybody? This is Paul, the Inventory King. Hope everybody is doing fantastic. And today I have a special guest joining me talking about fish rooms. The pros, the cons, is it worth it? That sort of thing. So without further ado, DWS Darius is my special guest. In the description below, you'll see a link to his channel. Make sure you guys head on over there after the video. Hit the subscribe button. Again, it's in the description. All right, Darius, take it away, man.
Hey everyone, this is DWS Darius, and welcome to another day in the fish room. So first off, thank you, Paul, for the spotlight. So for those of you who don't know, this is my basement fish room. Down here I have 9 aquariums with a huge diversity. I have saltwater aquariums, I have freshwater, I have large cichlids, aggressive cichlids, I have community fish, and my goal is just to get the biggest diversity as possible. If we go upstairs, I have my 10th and my largest aquarium, which is 210 gallons. If we go outside, I have my backyard koi pond, which is the largest of all my systems. And then I have one more 90-gallon pond, which I use to grow plants in spring and summer. Okay, everyone, so now I want to give you guys some of the pros and cons of having a fish room like this. I think the pros are pretty obvious. So first off, this aquarium hobby attracts a lot of nature lovers and a lot of animal lovers. I myself love nature and I love animals. And, you know, this fish room really fulfills both. I get to do a lot of natural setups, just be really creative with all my aquariums. If you look at all my tanks, I try to be as natural as possible, imitating what I see in nature. So that's one of the reasons why I love this fish room. I take every aquarium as like a different canvas where I could just express myself, creating different setups, creating, in my opinion, different artworks and just different miniature replicas of what I see in nature. And that's one of the reasons why I love this fish room. I have 10 different aquariums and pretty much 10 different canvases where I get to work out a different creation, create a miniature replica, my own miniature worlds. And that's part of the reason why I love this fish room, the creativity of it and the art of it. And the next reason is just simply because I love animals. Growing up, I always was a fan of animals and I wanted the zoo. And I gotta say, this is kind of like a miniature zoo. I have all different types of animals down here, all different types of fish. I have predators, I have schooling fish, I have peaceful tiny fish, I have large monster fish. And that's why I love this fish room. I love animals and I get just every piece of just that animal kingdom. I have predators once again, I have herbivores, I have just you name it, I have it. Every size, every color, every shape, you can find it in this fish room. And that's the biggest pro of having this fish room. If you love animals, if you love nature, you're free to just go crazy. Now, because of that, I definitely spend a lot of hours on my week down here. I definitely have a lot of time to de-stress looking at these aquariums. And because of my diversity, it helps with each day. Like if I'm having a hard day at work, if I come home, it's really not best to look at my African cichlid tank because those fish are very aggressive and that could stress me out sometimes, so I look at my community planted tanks. Whereas if I'm coming home after a bored day, I can look at my African cichlid tank and just get a lot of excitement because those fish are very lively, and that's part of the reason why I love the diversity of my fish room. For each day, for each mood that I'm in, there's a different tank to look at. And you know, this fish room is just very relaxing. I think this is like the best way to de-stress, the best way to just take time to think. You actually can learn a lot from these aquariums as well. I learned a ton from building this fish room, and it's just been an awesome experience. Okay, everyone, so now I want to talk a little bit about the cons of having a fish room like this. I think the major and the biggest con is the fact that all this stuff relies on electricity. If we don't have electricity for an extended period of time, we could potentially lose everything in this fish room because everything needs electricity. My lights, my filter, and my heater, all this stuff is not going to work unless I have power. Now the thing is, I'm in New Jersey and I've had a couple of winter storms that knocked out power for weeks. I've had Superstorm Sandy that came a couple of years ago that took out power for a couple of weeks. And I think it's just my block, but my block loses power very easily. And if a pole goes down or something like that, I lose power for a week. I could lose everything in this fish room. So that's the biggest risk. Everything relies on electricity. If I don't have electricity, I don't have a fish room. And you know, being that it's like global warming, we're getting a lot of storms, we're getting a lot of hurricanes, we're getting a lot of stuff that threaten electricity that is a little scary. And I think that's the biggest con. This fish room is a big investment, and all it takes is a week without power for everything that you see just to be destroyed. So that's the biggest thing that I fear. I do have a generator, but you know, I also have other needs and demands. Eventually running a generator for my fish room and for my other needs like my refrigerator and stuff that I need for my family, you know, all that weighs in, and I can't have a bunch of generators all around my house because, you know, there's rules as far as the community when it comes to stuff like that. So that's the biggest con, the fact that all it takes is a power outage for about a week and I can lose everything. Okay everyone, the next con of having a fish room like this is going to be the expense of it. So when it came to me setting up my fish room, there were 4 major payments I had to worry about. The first one was the initial setup. With this fish room, I ended up spending $2,000 to set it up. And I must say, I think that that $2,000 could have been a lot cheaper. If you look over there in that back corner, I have like 4 different lights that I don't even use. If you look in this bucket over here, I have a lot of filters and equipment that I don't use. And that's part of the reason why I spent so much money. I bought a lot of stuff that I ended up not using. So when you if you plan on setting up a fish room, definitely do your research, figure out what you need, what you don't need, and you definitely could save a lot more money. If I would have did my research properly, I definitely wouldn't have to spend $2,000 setting up this fish room. If I had to guess, this fish room could have costed, with the equipment that I'm using today, under $1,000. So definitely lesson learned. Next time if I ever set up a fish room again, I'm going to look and see what I need and what I don't need. And I won't have a pile of lights back there that are not being used. I won't have a bucket full of filters that are unuseful in this fish room. I'll only have what I need. After that, the next expense is going to be my electricity bill. So right now in the winter, this is when the electricity bill is the highest because I'm using all my heaters and all my aquariums. So I'm spending about $100 a month, not including the rest of my house, on electricity of this fish room, which I think can be burdensome at times. In the summer months it's not so bad because I like to plug on my heaters and it's only about $50 a month, but in the winter it is heavy. It is $100 a month just for electricity in this fish room. After that, the next expense is going to be on food and chemicals and supplements. I end up spending about $100 every 3 months buying food, buying supplements, buying water conditioners and stuff like that. So in a year I probably spend about $400, which I think is pretty fair. And the last expense is the most dangerous, and that is the expense of addiction. So just recently I had a package come into the house every day, and I must say it was a lot of unnecessary stuff. I was buying a lot of plants because I was simply addicted to plants. At one point I was buying a lot of corals because I was addicted to coral. And all the time I'm buying fish because I'm addicted to fish. And I think it's really important, if you plan on getting a fish room, you got to have somebody in your life that can control your addiction so that you don't end up wasting a lot of money. Have somebody that's not so addicted to the hobby, like maybe your wife, girlfriend, whoever it is, someone that could just be that neutral view or that neutral perspective, because you or me as a fish keeper, I'm addicted, so I could find any reason to buy a new fish, to buy a new plant, to buy something that I don't need. So it's very important to have somebody that could just snap you out of that addiction and just to only buy what's necessary. So that's the second con of having a fish room, just the price and making sure that you spend money wisely. Now, being that I have so many different plants and stuff like that, I am able to sell some plants. I am able to sell some coral. I am able to sell some fish. And also being a YouTuber, I do get a little bit of money back as well. So I am able to balance out the expense a little bit. But you know, at times it does get a little burdensome. I'm worrying about paying for all this stuff. So when it comes to maintenance and just overall upkeep in this fish room, I managed to get in a way where it's not too burdensome. So I have 2 days off from work, Sundays and Tuesdays. On Sundays, I clean the majority of these tanks doing a water change. I do all my tanks except this 40-gallon reef aquarium and my 210-gallon tank upstairs. But all these other tanks I do at once on Sundays, and it takes me about 3.5 hours, give or take. And that includes cleaning this entire room with a vacuum and mopping it all out. All of that takes about 3.5 hours each week on Sunday. Then on Tuesdays, I do this 40-gallon reef aquarium and my 210-gallon tank upstairs, and that takes about an hour. So altogether, only about 4.5 hours. But you know, sometimes I'm just not in the mood when I'm sick or when I'm just busy with other things. It can be burdensome, but you know, for the most part, I really don't mind doing maintenance on these aquariums, because when you have so many fish, it's good to dedicate time to give your tank checkups, to get a very detailed look at all your aquariums. And that's what I use my water changes for. Each tank I get a good like 10 to 15 minutes just to get a deep look at all my fish, to do a head count, make sure everybody's alive, make sure everybody's healthy, make sure there's nothing wrong with the aquarium. So I really don't mind doing those water changes, because it just gives me an opportunity just to get a good look at my aquariums and to give them a close checkup. And that's pretty much my maintenance schedule. Twice a week I maintain my aquariums, and really it only takes about 4.5 hours on a good day. Okay everyone, so that's been a look at my fish room, and that's been a look at just some of the pros, some of the cons, some of the ups, some of the downs, and just some of the life of being a fish room owner. So once again, thank you Paul for the spotlight, and I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much, Darius, for sharing that with us. It's truly appreciated. I hope that everybody enjoyed the video. Again, head on over to Darius's channel, DWS Darius. It's in the description below. There's a link. Subscribe over there. Like the video. Comment on the video. What do you guys think? Is owning a fish room worth it, or is it not? We would love to hear that in the comments down below. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe here and click on the bell notification. Also, check out some of my other videos over here. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I truly appreciate it. Thanks again, and stay tanked.